Well, I may have jumped the gun a little. The weather outside is cold and rainy again today. It's like 36 degrees with a light drizzle. Nothing exceedingly warm or sunny in the forecast for at least 3 or 4 more days. Maybe a little longer than that. But a couple days last week got me excited and I kind of jumped the gun. And I decided to get my motorcycle fired up. And I found out it needed a new battery. I've had it for about 5 years and the battery is the same one in it all that time. It was starting to get a little weak last year, so this year I didn't bother taking it out or starting it up every couple weeks like I did the last few years, and it's totally dead this year. It won't even hold enough of a charge to keep the bike running. To local dealers and checked around, looked at motorcycle batteries for between $60 and $150 locally. Ended up going to Amazon. I found this one here, VTX1300, which is what's in it right now, for $42.99 including shipping. I ordered it on Friday. It was here on Tuesday. And today is Thursday. I'm probably going to go put it in today. Let's just open that up and have a look. I haven't even opened it yet. It's not the gel matte batteries or anything special. It's just, I think, a regular standard lead acid battery, but I'm not sure. So let's have a look. Comes with new hardware to mount the wires with. There's unpacking on top, along with the instruction sheet under there. I'm going to pull this out. There we go. Alright, well, it is a sealed battery, pre-filled and sealed with a shrink wrap around it. And let's have a quick look here. Looks like there's, alright, from a company called Wise. Sealed lead acid AGM battery. Oh, I guess it is a glass matte battery of AGM, right? So, supposedly certified all these different ISO standards, blah, blah, blah. You know, as long as it works the way it's supposed to and starts the bike, that's really all I'm going to be caring about. I don't need to know what certifications it has and all that happy stuff, but, you know, it looks pretty solid. I mean, just a basic battery is what I need to get the bike running. And we're going to show you how to install this. Because on the Honda VTX like I have, you have to actually remove the seat and a couple other things in order to get it in. It's not just a matter like my old bike, you just flip the seat up with a little latch. It was on hinges, and in like 3 minutes you could literally drop a new battery in. This one here is a little bit more involved. Well, I couldn't find my volt tester, my voltmeter so to speak, and the instruction said that the battery could have been setting for a while to check the voltage with the voltmeter, and if it's under 12.5 volts to put it on a charger for a little bit to top it off. One of the kids actually has a battery tender, motorcycle type 1.5 amp battery maintainer, which is good for small batteries and for long-term storage of car batteries to keep them charged up. So the instruction said anything less than 2 amps is a good charging rate for these little batteries, and this one's 1.5 amps, so I'm like, perfect. So we set it up and we're going to give it a little charge to see how low it is and top it off. Well, there we go. Just about 6 minutes later and we're green for fully charged. Well, we're here in my garage and here's part of our family motorcycle collection. Got my 06 VTX 1300 that I ride. Not my favorite riding bike in the world because you sit kind of low with your hips spread apart. I prefer the more upright traditional bikes. These other ones belong to my son. This is my youngest son's, I think it's a 94 CBR 900RR. Now, I've been riding bikes for 45 years. This thing is scary fast. Plus, it's not really made for someone with the muscle pains and joint stiffness of an advanced age like me. And of course, my son Dan has his Ninja 600 up there, along with a Bandit 600 that you can barely see up in front of the CBR. The Bandit 600 is one of my favorite bikes to ride because it's a slightly more upright position when you're riding it. And I might actually spend some time riding that this summer if we can get it running right. So the first thing we're going to need is going to be a 7mm Allen wrench. And we've got screws on either side right behind the rear shock mounts, right there, and also over here on this side. But before we can move the front seat, we have to also move the back seat. So here, on the hand strap on each side, there's a 7mm, and on the very back of the seat into the fender is a 5mm. So we'll get all 5 of those bolts removed, and I think we'll be good to go. So you can see I've lifted off the back seat and set it aside over there. And now with the front seat, we'll just grab it from behind here and carefully lift it up and set that aside also. And now we have access to the top of the battery box after we remove the, looks like the ignition module lays across the top of that. We have to swing the ignition module forward. You can see there are 3 Phillips screws that you need to take off to remove the battery cover. 1 on each corner toward the rear of the bike, and 1 you have to lift up the wiring harness a little bit to see it facing the front of the bike. Now those are out. We have clear access to the battery now. We're going to need a wrench or a straight blade screwdriver to remove the terminals on that. I don't see a hold down strap over the battery, so I think once we remove the terminals we'll be able to lift it right out. And the battery's out. Took a little jiggling. I always recommend removing the negative terminal first and then the positive one. That way, in case your screwdriver slips, you won't accidentally arc out anything. And when I pulled it out, it was kind of tight fit in there. So what I did is I screwed the screws back in, and I grabbed them each with a pair of pliers and pulled up to get a grip on it, because there wasn't any other good way to grip it. And then I still had to like wiggle some of the cables back a little bit and pull them out of the way while I was pulling up. Now what I did is I took the mounting hardware, the screws and the nut underneath from the old battery. Even though I got new mounting hardware with the new battery, the ones that were in there were brass. I had to use the brass screws and nuts that I had with the original battery, hopefully for a better outcome in the long term. And now we're just going to make sure the positive terminal gets flipped around here and drop down on the right side, and we're going to drop it into place. Alright, we're right back in place. Now we're going to start with the positive terminals. We're going to put those on here. You see there's 2 different ones. And same thing with the negative terminal over here. There's this one here that's form-fitting, and then there's a round one. The form-fitting one goes on first. Just like over here, the form-fitting one here goes on first there. And we'll tighten those down. Alright, screwed down nice and tight. And the red positive cover plate, the rubber stopper here, needs to be pulled over into position. It doesn't seem to want to stay exactly where it's at, but with the plastic battery cover that goes over the top, it really won't matter. Here's the battery cover. I'm going to slide that in like so. Let me show you a trick to getting the battery cover to lay back down flat again. You can see I told you you have the 2 screws back here, and you have the hidden screw up here. The back end of this drops down real easy, but it's quite difficult if you don't know how to drop this front end down so that the screw will reach. One of the battery cables runs along the top of the battery right here, and it needs to be pulled back. You can see it right in here. It needs to be pulled back all the way toward the back of the bike before this front lip of the battery cover will fall into place. So as you start it up, line it up in the back holes. You don't start the screws, but line it up, and then as you're lowering the front part into place, reach through this hole with a straight screwdriver and pull that wire. You can see it down in there. Pull that wire backwards a little bit and hold it back, while use your other hand to push down on this and snap the cover all the way down into place. Then secure your 3 Phillips screws, and then you're all set. Now you can return the ignition module to its position, which I believe was right like that. Snaps into place there like that. And now we're ready to remount the front seat. But you know what, while you have it apart, it might be a good time to do a thorough cleaning job on this chrome right in here and on the opposite side here, because this is really hard to reach when the seat's in place. And the other thing I would recommend too would be cleaning the back lip of your seat off while it's apart, because dirt gets down in this area here, and that's also almost impossible to clean with the back seat mounted in place. So this is a good time while you have it apart to clean up any dirt that's on the top of the fender, inside the frame area where you can't reach. Maybe polish this area of the tank right down in here. Anything you could get to now that you wouldn't be able to get to once we get everything put back together. And there you go, she fired right up. Just about ready to ride. Have to clean her up real good. I've had it for about 5 years, and it's got 4,111 miles on it. Had about a little over 3,000 now when I got it. So I put less than 1,000 miles on it in 5 years. Last year I didn't ride it at all because of my health conditions. But this year I'm planning on doing some riding for sure. Alright, well, thanks for watching. Hope you saw something useful. Get out there and enjoy the summer weather this year and ride your bikes, people.